As of this moment, authID Inc., trading under the ticker symbol AUID on the NASDAQ, is experiencing a massive surge. The stock is currently sitting at 2.19 USD, which represents a staggering intraday increase of 1.19 USD, or approximately 120.23%. This isn't just a minor fluctuation. It is a full-scale price discovery event that has caught the entire market off guard. When you see a triple-digit gain in a single session, the immediate expectation is that a speculative pump is at play, or perhaps a fleeting piece of news that will fade by the closing bell. However, the reality on the ground suggests something much more structurally significant is happening within the identity verification sector. While most retail traders are looking at the percentage gain and wondering if they missed the boat, the institutional desks are likely looking at the sudden expansion of the order book and the velocity of the buy-side pressure. The tension here lies in the fact that while the price has more than doubled in a matter of hours, the valuation is only just beginning to reflect the massive shift in how enterprise security is being priced in a world of deepfakes and AI-driven identity theft. If you are watching this, comment below with how many shares of authID you currently hold, or if you are just now adding it to your watch list. This kind of movement is rare, and it demands a closer look at what is driving the volume. We see massive blocks being moved, and the liquidity is being tested in ways that suggest a fundamental re-rating of the company's prospects. Most investors believe that identity verification is a commoditized market, dominated by the biggest players with the deepest pockets. The common ground here is that everyone knows security is important, but the contrarian reality is that the legacy systems are failing at an alarming rate. authID isn't just another layer of security. They are positioning themselves as the definitive wall against the next generation of digital fraud. This price action today is the market finally waking up to the realization that the old way of doing things is obsolete. When we look at the daily swings we are seeing right now, the volatility is extreme, but the support levels are holding remarkably well despite the vertical climb. This suggests that the buyers aren't just speculators looking for a quick flip, but rather investors who see the current 2.19 USD price point as a bargain compared to the long-term total addressable market. The trading volume today has eclipsed the 30-day average by a multiple that signals institutional entry. Usually, when a stock jumps 120%, you see a sharp retracement within the first hour of the peak as profit takers exit. But with AUID, the consolidation is happening at the higher end of the range, which points toward a supply-demand imbalance where nobody wants to sell their position even at these levels. This momentum is partly fueled by broader sector pressures. As we see more companies integrated into the digital economy, the need for biometric certainty becomes a non-negotiable requirement for doing business. The macroeconomic environment is also playing a role here. With interest rates being a constant point of debate, capital is moving away from speculative maybe companies into must-have technology providers. authID falls firmly into the latter category. While you might be checking your Robinhood app or looking at your SoFi Invest dashboard and seeing the green bars, the real story is in the technical breakout from a long-term basing pattern. For months, this stock has been quiet, flying under the radar of the major investment sites. Today, that silence ended. The reality of the situation is that the company's recent performance and the adoption of their human factor platform have reached a tipping point. Institutional activity has spiked because the risk-reward profile has shifted. Earlier today, the bid-ask spread was tight, but as the news of their recent successes spread, the ask side started to thin out, leading to this explosive move toward 2.19 USD. To understand why this is happening now, we have to look at what authID actually does. At its core, the business model is centered on high-speed biometric identity verification. They provide a platform that allows businesses to verify that a person is who they say they are in less than a second, using a simple selfie. This is not the old-school password or even the two-factor authentication that we are used to. Those methods are easily bypassed by modern hackers. authID uses a patented approach to ensure that the person behind the screen is a living, breathing human being and not a digital injection or a pre-recorded video. Their business model is built on a software-as-a-service framework, meaning as they sign up more enterprise clients, their recurring revenue grows without a linear increase in costs. This scalability is exactly what investors in NVIDIA stock or Apple stock look for, albeit on a much smaller and more aggressive growth scale. The company has spent years refining their technology, and their older reports showed a period of heavy research and development spending. This is where many investors lost patience, as the bottom line didn't look attractive while they were building the infrastructure. However, the reality of the tech sector is that you have to build the engine before you can win the race. We are now seeing the transition from the building phase to the monetization phase. Recent earnings reactions have hinted at this shift, but today's price movement is the definitive confirmation. The market is now pricing in a much higher probability of large-scale contract wins. When you compare authID to the broader sector, their technology is often cited as being faster and more accurate than legacy competitors who are still relying on older, more cumbersome processes. For those looking at online investing options, whether through interactive brokers or a Fidelity brokerage account, the question always comes down to whether a move like this is sustainable. In the short term, we should expect some cooling off because no stock goes up 120% in a straight line forever. But the long-term catalyst here is the global shift toward mandatory biometric verification in banking, healthcare, and government services. This isn't just about logging into an app. It is about the fundamental security of the global financial system. When you use tools like Schwab Intelligent Portfolios or a SoFi Robo-Advisor, you are participating in a system that requires the very security authID provides. The expectation was that identity theft was a problem that would be solved by the big banks internally. The reality is that the banks are looking to outside experts like authID to provide a standardized, secure, and fast solution that they can't build themselves. Looking ahead, there are several scenarios that could play out. In the most optimistic scenario, authID continues to land major enterprise deals, which would justify a valuation significantly higher than the current 2.19 USD. The risk, of course, is that larger players in the tech space could move into this niche, where that regulatory hurdles could slow down the adoption of biometric data. However, the current momentum suggests that the market believes authID has a sufficient head start and a strong enough patent portfolio to defend its territory. The opportunity here lies in the fact that even after a 120% move, the market cap of authID is still relatively small compared to the total size of the security industry. This means that for an individual brokerage account holder, there is still a significant amount of growth if the company executes on its vision. The tension between the expectation of a flash in the pan and the reality of a structural breakout is what makes this trade so compelling. Many people will see the 120% gain and think the easy money has been made. But if you look at the history of high-growth tech stocks, these massive single-day moves often serve as the starting gun for a much longer upward trend. It marks the moment when the stock moves from the periphery of the market into the mainstream. You can find investment help on various platforms, and many would tell you to be cautious, which is sound advice, but the data shows that volume like this doesn't happen by accident. It is the result of a collective realization that the previous price was fundamentally wrong. As we move toward the end of the trading day, the focus will be on whether AUID can close near its highs. A Protestant close would signal that investors are comfortable holding the stock overnight, anticipating even more news or continued momentum tomorrow. If the stock fades and gives back half its gains, it would suggest that today was more about short-term speculation. But given the current price of 2.19 USD and the strength of the move, the bulls seem to be in total control. This is a classic example of the market's expectation of slow, incremental growth being shattered by the reality of a sudden technological or commercial breakthrough. When you manage your own portfolio, whether it's through Robinhood fractional shares or a more traditional Fidelity wealth management setup, you have to be able to distinguish between noise and a signal. Today's move in authID is a loud, clear signal. It is a signal that the identity verification market is undergoing a radical shift and that authID is at the center of it. The company's focus on eliminating passwords and replacing them with unforgeable biometric links is no longer a futuristic concept. It is a current business necessity. This is why the price is reacting so violently to the upside. The market is realizing that the old models for valuing this company were based on a world that no longer exists. In summary, authID is currently the talk of the market with its 120% gain, trading at 2.19 USD. We have seen a massive disconnect between the general market expectation of this being a quiet small-cap stock